In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. Imagine being thrown into the deep end in a pool filled with unknowns. That's how my initiation into Project Woodland felt. Suddenly, my quiet existence was transformed into a whirlwind of chaos. The phone on my desk became a constant reminder of the vastness of the unknown lurking in our national parks. The relentless ringing, a deafening echo of the urgency and gravity of the cases that lay ahead. The question that hung in the air was, how am I going to keep on top of all these cases? A seasoned colleague, Joe, saw my bewilderment. He leaned in, eyes full of a wisdom earned through years of experience, and said, "Welcome to the big leagues, son. You'll need to learn fast how to prioritize and delegate." His dismissal was curt, the gesture clear. There were more pressing matters at hand. Returning to my desk, I began to construct a system, a lifeline amidst the storm. A system designed to bring order to the chaos, to prioritize the urgent cases over the rest. The high-priority cases were missing children, the mid-priority ones were missing adults, murders and animal attacks, and the low-priority cases were suspected suicides, sightings, encounters, and the rest. The system was simple. Act quickly based on the case and its respective priority level. Only when there were no high-priority cases would I move to the mid-priority ones, and so on. In hindsight, this method was far from perfect, but it was a start. It was the first step towards navigating the murky waters of Project Woodland. I didn't realize it at the time, but this method wouldn't be the best one to follow. However, I had to start somewhere. And so, armed with my rudimentary system, I embarked on my first high-priority case, unaware of the chilling realities that awaited me. The phone rang. My first high-priority case had arrived. I could feel a sense of urgency, a growing chill in the air as I picked up the receiver. A boy had disappeared from a nearby national park, and I was to spearhead the investigation. The park was bathed in a surreal silence as I arrived, broken only by the desperate cries of a woman. Sarah, the mother, was in a state of absolute panic. Her son, she claimed, was taken by something in the woods. My initial thought was a kidnapping, a dreadful but all too common occurrence. But as Sarah's story unfolded, it became clear that this was no ordinary case. Sarah described the incident with a chilling detail that sent shivers down my spine. She spoke of her son, Freddie, playing by the river when she saw something from the corner of her eye. She thought it was a bear at first, but then it stood up like a man. Sarah was insistent it wasn't a bear, it was something else, something that defied explanation. Her father had filled her childhood with tales of large, hairy creatures in the woods, stories she shrugged off as mere superstitions. Now, she was living a nightmare, her son taken by the very creatures she refused to believe in. Sarah chased after the creature, but it had vanished into the thick foliage, leaving no trace of Freddie. The park was their playground, a place to spend the day, while Freddie's father, Jason, was at work. But that day, it had turned into a hunting ground. As I listened to Sarah, my mind raced with possibilities. A bear? Unlikely, but not impossible. A kidnapper in a costume? A desperate attempt to make sense of the senseless. But Sarah was insistent it wasn't a bear. She had seen something out of this world snatch her son away. This was my first encounter with the unknown. A boy had disappeared. A mother was in despair, and I was left grappling with a mystery that defied everything I knew about the world. It was my first high-priority case, my first step into the shadows of Project Woodland. Little did I know, it was just the beginning. The park ranger, George, had a different perspective on things. He was a seasoned veteran of the wilderness, his face etched with lines that told a story of countless encounters with the unknown. As I approached him, his eyes held a depth of understanding that was unnerving. With a solemn nod, he beckoned me over, an air of urgency surrounding him. "We need to call in search and rescue," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But you and I, we need to follow the beast." His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Are we not trying to rescue the boy? I asked, my voice betraying my confusion. George ran a hand through his silver hair, his gaze fixed on the dense forest ahead. You're new to this, aren't you? He asked, not waiting for a response. We have to keep up appearances, put on a show for the folks back home, but we're dealing with something that doesn't play by our rules. His voice was grave, a stark contrast to the tranquil serenity of the forest around us. I tried to swallow the lump in my throat, my mind racing to keep up with his words. So you're saying... I trailed off, the implication of his words hitting me like a punch to the gut. George nodded, his gaze never leaving the forest. The boy, it's likely he's already gone. His words were like a cold slap to the face, but there was no time to process the shock. We had a beast to chase. As we ventured deeper into the wilderness, following the monstrous tracks, a sense of dread washed over me. What kind of creature were we dealing with? And more importantly, what were we going to do when we found it? George turned to me, his eyes filled with concern. We had to keep up appearances, but the truth was we were chasing a beast. We followed the tracks deep into the forest to a place where humans seldom tread. The dense canopy overhead cast long, eerie shadows that danced and flickered as the wind rustled the leaves. The undergrowth was thick and wild, crunching under our boots with every step we took. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a stark reminder of the raw, untamed nature that surrounded us. We were tracking a beast, a creature that had snatched a child away from his mother's watchful eye. The tracks were large, much larger than any humans, and they led us deeper and deeper into the wilderness. We moved with caution, our eyes scanning the area for any sign of the monstrous creature or the missing child. The tracks led us to a towering cliff that jutted out from the forest like a giant's fist. It was a formidable sight, its sheer rock face reaching high into the sky, disappearing into a blanket of low-hanging clouds. I exchanged a glance with George, the park ranger. His seasoned gaze met mine, a look of grim understanding passing between us. The beast had taken the child up there. The thought was mind-boggling. What kind of creature could scale such a cliff, let alone with a child in tow? But the evidence was there, staring us in the face. We could see the faint impressions of the beast's claws etched into the rock face, a chilling testament to its strength and agility. As we scoured the base of the cliff, a glint of something caught my eye. Nestled among the roots of a gnarled old tree was a small shoe, its once bright colors faded and smeared with dirt. It was a child's shoe, presumably Freddie's. My heart sank. The grim reality of our situation hit us like a punch in the gut. We were too late. We knew there was nothing we could do. The boy was never found. The forest swallowed up our shouts and pleas, echoing back at us with a haunting silence. The beast had claimed another victim, leaving behind only a small shoe as a grim memento of its terrifying power. In the quiet aftermath of the search, I found myself reflecting on the case. The silence of the forest was deafening, each rustling leaf echoing the unanswered questions, the unsolved mysteries that had led me here. The missing boy, the distraught mother, the large tracks vanishing into the wilderness. Every piece of the puzzle seemed to fit, yet refused to form a coherent picture. As a newly minted agent, I had thought my system of priorities would streamline the process, a neat little method to manage the chaos. But as I stood there, staring at the small shoe, the insignificance of my system hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just about categorizing into high, mid, or low priority. It was about recognizing the unpredictable, the unknown, the unexplainable. It was about understanding that each case was unique, each victim had a story, and each monster, well, they were more real than I had ever imagined. I had come into this job with a certain view of the world, a solid belief in what was possible and what was not. But standing there, in the heart of the wilderness, I felt my convictions shatter. The world was indeed stranger, darker, more mysterious than I had ever believed. It was a tough pill to swallow, the realization that my neatly stacked system of priorities was flawed. It was a humbling experience, one that made me question my readiness, my ability to handle the unknown, but it was also a learning curve, a harsh but necessary lesson that shaped me into the agent I would become. I realized that in this line of work, you have to be ready for the unexpected, ready to let go of preconceived notions, ready to face the monsters that lurk not just in the shadows but also in the darkest corners of our minds. I learned that in this line of work, you don't just fight the monsters outside, you also fight the ones inside. The ones that keep you up at night, whispering, "What if?" And so, our tale of the Campfire Horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The Campfire Horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So, if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us. Until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.